of the first 4 hours, meaning up until midnight, the 2 hours of the, not the first 4 hours, the second 4 hours, meaning the first half of the second 4 hour period, the 10 to 2 period. Because assuming there's 12 hours, so the night would begin at 6 and end at 6. So 6 to 10 would be the first 4 hours. The second would be 10 to 2, and the last would be 2 to 6. So 10 to midnight, they're still singing praise, and then they start mourning. What is it that they say? What the first 2 hours actually, 10 to 12, what do they say? It's Psalm 137. On the Haros Bavel Sham Yeshavnu Gam Bachinu. On the rivers of Babylon, there we sat and we mourned after the destruction.
After midnight.
It's actually up until midnight. First 2 hours. Ve'ilon inun debach al Haros Bavel iman Yisrael. Because those are the angels that originally cried together with us over the destruction. Mimash medachsiv gam bachino, because this also they cried. They didn't just sit there with us, but they literally cried with us. How do we know that they cried there on the rivers of Babylon, outside of the Holy Land? Because usually angels, they like to be in the Holy Land. They don't like leaving. It says the Arelim, a particular type of angel, they cried out outside. And what does it mean outside? Where is it chutza? Da Bavel means outside of the Holy Land, which is Bavel, which is Al Naras Bavel, the rivers of Babylon. There they cried. Begin the chulu uzva l'shchina ad Bavel, because all the angels accompanied the Shechina, because the Shechina went with the Shechina is where we are. So if we're in exile, the Shechina is in exile. V'tamam bachu iman Yisrael, and there they cried together with Israel. V'alda paskli b'hai, and that's why we say Al Naharas Bavel, Messiah Mizach Hashem Livnei Edom, because the first exile was in Babylonia, was destroyed by the Babylonians. But then we conclude with God, remember the children of Edom, because Edom, which we symbolically somehow connect to Rome, they were the ones who destroyed the second temple and caused the second exile. So by saying this psalm, we remember the destruction of the first and second temples. Then HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Holy One, blessed be He, the source of redemption, becomes awakened in His level, which is usually considered here the sphere of Bina, of understanding. And then it shakes, it kicks the 390 firmaments that we mentioned earlier, in order to awaken them to remember the sadness of the destruction of the temple. Is the Asu Tracer Alfi Almin, and the 12,000 worlds, which are really the 12 camps of the Shekhinah, because each campment has 1,000 worlds within it, so 12 times 1,000 is 12,000. They all shake because of the pain of the Shekhinah. The Goya Bachi, and God cries, screams out and cries. Hashem imarom, because it says God from that place, from the place of Bina, which is called Maram, Yishuk, like roars. Ma'on Kadshon, from His holy abode, which is Malchus, Yitin Kolo, He gives His kol. Kol is usually Zer Ampin. Shog Yishog al Neveo, like a lion, he roars. He roars regarding two roars, regarding his abode. God is crying out in these 390 worlds, or the 12,000 worlds. Va'achilon Yisrael, and He remembers us, how we're in exile. Va'achas trained divine l'gayam rabba. And 2 tears, as we said before, descend into the great sea. Okay, and then once that's the last 10 to 12. Then when midnight comes, Isar shal habus echad b'didisat tzafon. Then a flame from the northern side awakens. Ubat shruch echad b'didisat tzafon bahu shal visa. And there's a ruach, there's a wind from that side, the northern side, that goes and knocks against that flame, that spark. And then that fire goes and flits about the earth. Vahi shaita is palag laila. At that point, it becomes midnight. Two sides of the night are divided. And that spark is the thing that goes into the consciousness of the rooster and makes it call out.
That's midnight?
Yeah. So you have to understand that it's a metaphor. I don't know what really happens to the rooster. It's not literally what happens to the rooster. But what the Zohar is telling us is that, we say, the sechvi is not just the rooster, it's also the heart. The heart has to understand between the first half of the night and the second half of the night. It has to understand between this division between the Shekhinah, the sadness of the Shekhinah, the crying out of the pain of the Shekhinah, and the fixing of the exile. Then, when that happens, God enters into paradise.
So visual.
Yeah. And God doesn't have any nachas ruach, He doesn't have any satisfaction until He enters into paradise to play. Remember, we asked the question, what does He have to play with the souls of the tzaddikim and the righteous? What does that mean? Well, what it means is
Paradise is Echot Shem.
What it means is that when we're in exile, the Shekhinah is in pain because it's exile. But when we do mitzvos, we bring back some level of unification between the Holy One, blessed be, and the Shekhinah. So when it says God comes to enter into paradise to play with the souls of the righteous, what it means is the souls of the people who have done good in this world, who have done mitzvot, are able on some level to reunite the Shekhinah and the Holy One, blessed be, even if not literally to the point where the temple is rebuilt, but enough that God is is happy again. So even in the galut, even in the exile, we bring this yichud, we bring this kind of unification into play. It's not like we're in exile, it's over, God has forsaken us. No, we're in exile, God is separated from the Shekhinah, yet we reunite the Shekhinah. We constantly come out of exile at midnight. The destruction just brings back a resurrection, so to speak, of what's missing, at least on a temporary basis. And then it goes back again, another cycle of sadness and destruction and reintegration and bringing together.
This is all happening at night?
At midnight.
Midnight.